Shalom, shalom, chevra. I'm here today with Rabbi Yuval Cherlow, Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat, Amit Orot Shaul. He is a graduate of Yeshivat Har Etzion, ordained by the Israeli Chief Rabbinate, a retired major in the IDF, and is a founding member of the rabbinical organization Sohar. Rabbi Cherlow has published many books and articles dealing with topics in halakha, biblical exegesis, modern Jewish philosophy, and contemporary questions. He's a member of various Israeli governmental ethical committees, among them the Helsinki Committee that deals with experimental medicine, gynecology, and genetics. He's also a member of the Presidential Press Council of Israel. That only scratches the surface. Rav Cherlow, for me, is someone that I look to on questions of ethics and halakha of contemporary relevance. So Rav Cherlow, thank you so much for taking time to talk.
Thank you for having me. It's much easier than to fly to the United States, to sit at home and speak with you from here. So it's a great experience.
Thank you so much. So today, oftentimes we say, Choshen Mishpat and the Talmud on economic questions. It's really not relevant. We just say Dina de Malchuta Dina. And I wonder what Torah insights we actually can learn from how we engage with workers today. So my first question for you is, how does halakha broadly and maybe specifically inform how employers must pay employees today? Do we just say minhag hamakom, that we follow the local custom? Do we say minimum wage is enough? Do we say living wage, i.e. the wage should be enough for the person to live? How do we navigate such questions?
In general, I think there's three circles. The first circle is the core. And the core says it's a freedom of making contracts, and the halacha is not getting involved in this issue. The only thing that is very important for the halacha is to pay on time and to fulfill your commitments towards the employees. Whatever you promised or whatever you said you'll do, you must pay. And there are a few things of minhag hamakom, not really regarding paying, but actually dealing with the circumstances and the conditions of how to work, whatever. But there are still another two circles that the halacha is not so, it's not the core of halacha, but it's expanding our commitments. The first thing is the fact that all over and all the way long, the Torah uses the word achicha. And it says that our approach towards our employees are not that they are our slaves or they're not even not employees. They are our brothers. And the fact that the Torah is writing or talking and using the discourse of achicha, of your brother, it's actually saying that it has to have a lot of influence on your approach. You should ask yourself not only how little can I pay, but ask yourself, what would you have done if it was your brother? And that's the second thing. The third thing is, and the third thing is much more wide, is the fact that the Torah says in general, Vasita yashar v'atov, you should do the good things, and ma shesanu alecha, al ta'asu lechavecha. You should think about the ignorance veil, to feel about the fact that if what would have happened if you were the employee, that's actually ma shesanu alecha. And don't do it to your employees. Now, I want to emphasize a second point that I think that in general law, at least in Israel, it's not so important, but there are also commitments and obligations of the employees towards the boss, and we have also to mention this, because the halacha sees both the directions. It's not only the contract. The halacha says that you have to do whatever you promised you'll do. We read about Yaakov Avinu that he's telling Lavan, I was okay. And what I think the most impressive thing is the fact that the halacha says, it's a Mishnah, I think everybody learns it when he starts learning Mishnah and the second Brachot, the fact that if there is a contradiction between Kriyat Shema, concentrating on the most important thing of Kriyat Shema, or commitments towards your work, you should read Kriyat Shema up, on the tree, not go down even if you have more kavana. It's actually like Hashem says, I'm even, also myself is saying, When you're working, you should do your job in a pure way, and even if the cost is Kriyat Shema with less kavanah.
Okay, very nice. Okay, so three frameworks I find very interesting: the minimalist or basic approach, pay on time, honor your contracts. A second based on family and empathy of achicha; these are your brothers, sisters. And third, a justice principle of yashar v'tov; you should do what's right and good. And of course, this point about obligations going both ways, employees to employers, and both ways. So today in America, and I can't speak to Israel, we have a growing divide, a disparity of wealth and income. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. So I wonder, what is the obligation of a business owner or a corporation when they are employing someone who still lives in poverty? Meaning they are getting the wages that the market allows for of a free market economy, and yet they still can't get by. Is that just the realm of community and tzedakah, or is there an extra chiyuv, an extra obligation on owners?
Depends what discourse are you learning, because if you ask the halacha, and the halacha, as I said, is very minimized. The halacha says it's not your business. I mean, you should pay on time, you should do whatever you need, and I don't think there is, as someone that is working with you in the gap between poor people and rich people, it's not considered as a halacha commitment. But I think the most important thing that we should emphasize today, that Judaism is not only halacha. Halacha is the core. It's what I'm doing all day long. I mean, but it's the core that's the most important. It's the center. But our Rav Amit Zecher Tzadik Levacha used to say constantly, halacha ze lo hakol. What should we learn above the halacha? We should learn the prophets. And when we read in Amos HaNavi that he describes how rich people really had so many expenses and so rich and crowns and whatever, and ignoring the fact that they are someone that is paying the price, and his criticism towards the society was so strong, we should decide that the prophets, the Nevi'im, are also part of our commitments and our role models. And once we understand that Yahadut is not only halacha, that Yahadut is also listening and fulfilling the values that the Nevi'im spoke about, then we have a different approach. Then it's your commitment to do whatever is reasonable to do.
Okay, so if I can push back just a little bit, because generally it resonates for me, halakha is a floor, not a ceiling, and there's the broader Jewish ethics involved. But I think back to the Gemara, the Agadah, I think it's in Bava Metzia, where the worker breaks the jug, right? That breaks the jug, and the employer says, should I pay? Is that the halacha? He says, yes, you have to pay, it's the halacha, and he quotes Mishlei, which is not where you bring halacha. So the sense is the halacha includes the yashar v'tov. It's not just an ethical commitment. So would you agree that in some cases the halacha includes the ethic that goes beyond the letter of the law?
Definitely, and this is a very good example, but it's a real exception. I mean, it's not something that you can say that the halacha does it constantly. And actually, the Tosfot is asking that there is a contradiction between this Gemara and another Gemara, and it's really one of the main important sources that actually combines halacha and judgment and leman telech bederech tovim. Yeah, that's the pasuk that is mentioned then on Baba Kama. You should go and behave according to the good, the good behavior. Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm saying. I think that we should change our approach towards the commitments of Nevi'im. It's not only values, it's not only around, it's not only to be good. The Nevi'im are part of our commitments. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it wasn't formulated as halacha doesn't mean that we are not committed to this, to their words.
Great. So how does halakha and the Nevi'im, how does Jewish law and the prophets help us think about what would be fair or unfair taxation today? Do you think Torah has any wisdom to share on Israeli policy of taxation?
There are all kinds of experiments that are trying to say that there is a sugya in Baba Batra. How do you pay according to how many people do you have in town, or how many houses, lefi nefashot, lefi all kinds of ideas. I think that you are right, that behind your question is the assumption that trying to take the Gemara values and to, transfer them 2,000 years to our life and use it as a policy, I think it's wrong. And I don't think that the halacha as halacha has a formulation of a taxation policy. And actually, you said it's minhag hamakom. It's the decision the halacha actually gives or ordinate the kehila or the state to make it values. But then the halacha will come and will ask, did you look also towards the poor people? Did you understand that there are all other missions that the society should take or should not take? But it's not, I don't think that you can say that our halacha taxation law, but I do think one day we'll have to write them. I mean, because we can learn some things from the old tradition about fairness and the importance of fairness and the commitment and what are the things that the society should do and what not, should stay private. These are the things that we will have to do if we want really the state to be a Jewish state.
Great. So is there an ideology, and I think you've started to answer this, is there an ideology that can be formed, or is it really just case by case? If someone says, I'm a Jewish socialist, right? I'm a Jewish capitalist. Do you think that Torah can work with those frameworks, or do you think it's beyond those?
These are the questions that it's really depends who you ask, because this is the biggest conversation. Does the halacha has the Torah? I don't want to speak only about halacha, but does the Torah have any policy? Is it direction? I mean, I'm not talking about details, but actually, is it socialist or not? And there is even a difference. When we read what our 50 years ago, the rabbis 50 years ago wrote, the terminology was socialism. You had to very, identifying ourselves with the social way of and taking all the commitments of the state or whatever. Today, I think that most of the rabbis are shifting to the right. I'm not talking about territories. I'm talking about policy of finance. And the reason is because when you learn the sugiyot, you see that the first thing in the sugya seems very selfish, but it's not. Shelcha kodem leshel kol adam. Or chayecha kodmim lechaye chavercha. Avedato ve'avedat aviv. If you lost your wallet and your father lost the wallet, the Mishnah says, avedato kodemet. You are permitted to look for your wallet before your father's wallet. And this is the base. The halacha recognized privacy, ownership, and the things that everything belongs to you. But then the halacha says you should open your gates. You should give pe'an, leket, and shichecha from your fields. You should give the tzedakah. You should machatzit shekel. It's also your responsibility towards the Beit Mikdash, whatever. I mean, this is the way. There's a center, a core that you own what you own, and you are even before your father. Shelcha kodem leshel kol adam. But and then the halacha says you cannot keep and be in a very nasty capitalist motion. You should open your gates and give more and more. Now, where are the boundaries? What is more? How much is yours and what percentage? This will be a discussion. But I think this is the right direction. And it's very interesting, even in Jewish philosophy, to ask why. Is it to educate you to be selfish? First of all, ego, and then open, or something much deeper. We have very nice material about it. And I think it's part of Jewish philosophy and also Jewish policy.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I think just one or two last questions. So I know, there's a lot of conversation about Arab-Israeli rights, and some Arabs in Israel, of course, claim there's discrimination in the workplace. And I wonder how should Jews navigate this today? On the one hand, there's a sense that the world is not with us, and Jews should prioritize Jews' security and even their economic welfare if you have the opportunity to hire a Jew or an Arab in Israel, right? On the other hand, it's a state that's built, striving for human rights and not discrimination. And we also know that peace, if there ever will be peace, will be based on economic interdependence. So how do you think we navigate such issues in the economy around Jews and Arabs coexisting?
I think that your question gave the answer. I mean, first of all, it should be basic equality and basic human rights. And it's not only as an individual, you should think also about Gentiles and about Arabs, but also if you want to create a Jewish state and you want to be responsible not only to the 80% Jews that live in Israel, but also to everyone that you control. We have 20% Arabs, and I'm talking from the fairness, but also it's not only because of fairness, it also will be smart to do, because if 20% minority will feel that they are discriminating and they cannot work and make their living, so the only way for them will be to rebel. I mean, it's also will be smart to do that, but I'm not coming from the security point of view. I'm coming from the reasonable and legal and ethic way of thinking. But I don't deny the fact, and I mentioned it before, that I have a brother. I mean, the Yehudim are my brothers, and they are my partners. I mean, the Arabs are my partners, but they are not my brothers. So therefore, I do think that one factor, it's not the only factor, one factor should be, according to halacha, if you have something that you can give to employee someone that is your brother, I will prefer my brother than someone else. But you have to include all kinds of other factors. Depends what's the gap, and if he does a better work, and is it something that will cause poverty to the Arabs, because if it will be with poverty, it's not fair, it's not ethical. I mean, there are many more factors to answer the question, but in the bottom line of the title. But in general, we must understand that we have the responsibility not only to take care of ourselves. If we want to control a state and we have 20% of minorities in our state, our responsibility, according to halacha, should be also towards them.
Yashar v'tov, and also mipnei darchei shalom. Thank you so much, Rabbi Cherlow. Your Torah is very enlightening and a great kiddush Hashem. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.